Cool. All right. So, what we're going to talk about, which is the puerperium today, is well, basically, puerperium is around the first 6 weeks after childbirth, and the reason why it's around that period is just that it's the time that it takes for our bodies to actually start recovering. It doesn't mean that it will be fully recovered. Most of the times it won't, but it will start recovering after 6 weeks. So up until 6 weeks, we're working on a healing process. And we're going to be addressing a little further on the class on how we can optimize our healing process during this period, okay? And by that, I will give you more details on all of the phases of the puerperium and how the recovery process should work. I like to give a little intro on that because I feel that the more we start becoming informed on what is happening during our postpartum period, the more we can address and understand how we can fix situations that we feel are broken, or how we can recover and experience a little more bliss during that period, because it's a challenging period. But I feel like there is a lot that we can uncover and make it become even more blissful for us. It doesn't really have to be that suffering. We like on the past year or so, I've been really involved with this period of a woman's life. And what I feel is that social media sometimes, well, a lot of the times it's either romanticizing motherhood and puerperium, or it's demonizing it. So what I want to tell you guys is that there actually is a midway into all of this. It's not because on an attempt maybe to try and show the real puerperium, we're kind of bringing it towards a very negative place, and that's not where it belongs. It's actually a blissful moment in our lives, and even though it's very, very challenging, we can bring a lot of elements to this period that will make it a blissful moment regardless of the challenges. So this is what we're trying to do here today, okay? So let me move forward. In comparison, I've already mentioned it on the earlier slide, but the postpartum period doesn't have a real time frame. And the puerperium, it's cut down into 3 basic phases. So we have the first phase, which is the taking in phase. We have the second phase, which is the taking hold phase. And then we have the letting go phase. And I'm going to get into that so you guys can understand what phases we're going through and how we're going to adjust to each of them. And the more we understand what's happening, the chances are that we're going to experience more positive puerperium, okay? Ladies, so far so good?
Yeah, it's fine.
Just wanted to ask you, Lorena, you're not sharing your presentation yet, right? Because we just, we don't see the presentation.
Oh. So.
I see. In my site, it's fine.
Oh, okay.
Oh, you see the presentation? Okay, then.
And do you guys, does everyone else see it?
Yeah, we do.
Oh, okay, perfect. Cool.
Sorry, just I had a different mode on, so and it's good now.
Awesome. Okay. All right. So what is happening in the taking in phase? The taking in phase, it's literally the minute you give birth, and it lasts for 2 to 3 days. And this phase is the phase where we're feeling most dependent. Like we feel that we've lost our ability to make decisions. It's where the mom is feeling like mostly vulnerable. And because we're not really physically mobile during this phase, it kind of really makes the whole emotional setting of our lives and the physical one feel a little bit dependent, or actually a lot. So we feel very dependent either on our healthcare providers, on our partners, on our families. And when we don't have that, it's another issue that comes, or another challenge during the taking in phase, because we really feel like we are dependent some way or somehow. And we also start feeling that we're attached to a situation that we're not really sure, like how attached we are, and is it for good? And so we're still in that period where we don't know um, what our commitment, like our lifetime commitment, what does it entail? Like now there is a baby here that I'm fully responsible for, and then I feel so dependent. So the taking in phase, um, although it's also a mixed phase, because we also feel that bliss of birth. So it's a really there are a lot of conflicts, and like internal conflicts, emotional conflicts happening, where you might be experience high peaks of joy and high peaks of concern, and a mix of things, and on the real background and internally still feeling quite dependent. That's not an all rule, a general rule, but it's just something that has been studied, and it does happen to a large number of women. So in the taking in phase, mostly that's how we're feeling. And then we have the taking hold phase, and it lasts around 2 to 4 days after giving birth. And it's the time where you start understanding what's happening. You start being able to integrate and associate your changes. So um, you start understanding your new role, yet you're still not understanding like fully how capable you are, like of things. You're still also you're still lost in the mid of things. It's still a little bit blurry, but you're already getting a grip of what it is that's happening. So you start integrating the changes. You feel that you can start speaking a little more for yourself. You can be still a little insecure, but you're not on that 100% like feeling dependent. For mommies that experience natural births, this might come in around this time. For mommies that had a C-section, it can last a little bit longer, because you're still not feeling 100% independent. You're still not very mobile. But for the mommies with the births that weren't like that didn't have any surgeries involved, you might start feeling more mobile during this period. So it's the taking hold phase. And then we finally have the letting go phase. It also happens somewhere in between the 2 to 3 days after birth, depending, like it varies from mommy to mommy. And it lasts around 2 weeks, up until 2 weeks after giving birth, where you're really starting to understand a little bit more of your role, and you're accepting your new role. Like that period can last for years, okay? But it starts happening around 2 weeks postpartum. So you're accepting your new role, and you're understanding that you're giving up your old role. This I will elaborate in future classes, but this is what we call grieving, because it's the moment where you're actually grieving who you were before. And if we don't understand that it's a grieving process, we really have a hard time letting go. So we really it reaches a point where we're really understanding that we're being born with the new baby that's being born, and that the or old us, it's really literally like dying at that point. Um, but every just like the natural process, it's there every after every death there is a new birth. So we kind of die a little bit to be born again. Like that's how the process kind of goes. So we understand that it's a grieving process. We let go, and then we embrace our new role. And there's a lot of our natural essence that still comes with it, because sometimes in the letting go phase we feel like we're not ourselves anymore, and only to discover that our real original essence, it's still there. We're just uncovering it with the new person that's being born with us at that time. So it's a tricky moment, yet it's also a very transformative moment. And if we start making um, nice decisions, and if we're very informed, we can experience this in a very blissful way. All right. So moving on to the next one is how we are going to approach your puerperium. Okay. What makes for a good ground base? Like, what are the fundamentals for experiencing, and how can we prepare for our puerperium phase? I'm just gonna, before I get into the details, I'm not really sure how far along you guys are in your postpartum period, or if you're still pregnant, or if you're still thinking of getting pregnant. This is all for you. Like, this is a good moment to be getting informed. And I've had several mommies on my last class. This class has run once before, and they've asked me, like, is it too late? Like, my baby has been born 6 months ago, and I still feel that I'm in the taking hold phase, or I'm in the letting go phase. I still feel like I'm somewhere around puerperium. And it's never too late. It's never too late to go through the whole healing process. There's a lot that we can do practically, and it's still going to reflect um, in whatever stage we are of postpartum. I'm focusing on the first 42 days here on these slides, but what I'm telling you here, it can still apply to you right now. It's probably not going to have the same physical effect, but even what I have here about the meals you should be consuming and things like that, it can have a real um, positive emotional effect. So it's never too late to apply these changes. So just giving you a little side note on that. We'll get into it now, like, and I'll explain further. So during the first 42 days, mom should be resting. So these 42 days, you ideally will keep your feet off the ground as much as possible. You're gonna have your feet up most of the times. Um, this will avoid swollenness, but other than that, it's just really going to give you the rest that you need. Like, sometimes we're not really acknowledging the importance of um, recovery. We are really trying to get back into the whole process pre-birth, and it's not really gonna flow how we expect a lot of the times. Sometimes our Western world is really kind of trying to get us um, to be up and about very quickly, way before than our bodies are ready for it. So this is really the time to take it slow, so that you can gradually get back into your roles or to your routine and do it blissfully, do it fully, rather than start quickly and then start falling back into square one, which is what we don't want. So every process needs to be gradual after birth. And everything that we start getting back into, it needs to really take like our baby steps back into the things that we want to take in our lives, but also the new things that we're trying to accomplish. So there's a lot going on, and we need to do this gradually. So we kind of need to reprogram our minds, um, instead of thinking like we're back on track. I've heard it a lot, like, oh, pregnancy is not an illness, so we need to not treat it as so. And I completely it resonates with me. Like, it's definitely not an illness, but it's certainly a transformation. We're going through a huge initiation, and every initiation that happens in our lives, it just means that there's a drastic change, like a really huge transformation. It's probably one of the biggest we may experience in our time here on earth. So it does require baby steps and gradual changes and gradual um, implementations that we're going to start making in our lives. So let's not underestimate this period. Let's treat it as it should be treated, and then so that we can grasp onto our gradual changes slowly. Rest, 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 mommy. You need to be resting. In the last class, I remember somebody asked, like, how are we gonna be resting if we have another child? Like, what if it's my third child, and then we have our first child just going around out and about, and how are we gonna do it? Who's gonna cook for us? Who's gonna clean? Those are like real, valid and actual questions that the real life is still happening, and that's true. And unfortunately, we're really at that time in society where we've become really distant from our support system. Well, we're foreigners here, so that's already one reason why it's happening. But then we're really caught up, like our families, our supposed support system are still also caught up in their own daily routines. So we feel like, what are we going to do? So we need to kind of prepare ourselves for this moment. And we also need to educate the people in our house, in our household. Maybe we're starting to educate our partners as well, so that we're together, our families are understanding this whole process. It's a short process, and soon we're going to be back on track and back in our lives. We just can't really rush it through. So ideally, we're resting. And ideally, we're not going to prioritize our house tasks for this time. So we probably need to prepare our minds to understand that it's not a priority. And some things that can wait are going to have to wait. So that deep cleaning of the house is going to have to wait if it's you that will be holding that task, or if it's partner or anyone else in your support system that's doing that. It's your time to really well, it depends on our personalities and how we're coping with things that are happening around our environment, but it's time to kind of let go of control. If that's you, if you're a person that's really in need of like control or doing things your way, it's really time that we start educating our minds to focus in that resting period. So if you have other children, the fact that you are aware of your resting period is already a big step. That you understand, okay, now the children are in bed, this is my time to also be in bed. Or that you're not feeling guilty that you're not as active with your child during these 42 days, or with your spouse, or whatever else is part or was part of your role before the new baby came in. So it's just giving yourself permission to go through your 42 days, and creating this environment that's going to offer you more comfort. So if you're going to be um, jumping from one room to another in your house, make sure you have a very comfortable space, that you invest in little cushions around your house, little pillows, or blankets, that you have all of that available for you. So wherever you're sitting, your feet can be up, keeping your feet up as much as possible, and just making sure that you're getting the rest that is possible. So whatever it is in your scenario, that you're just doing it as much as possible. So for the healing process, you're definitely following all of your doctor's recommendation. Each process is different, depending on how was your birthing time and the amount of medication or whatever it was that your care provider went through during that period. It's all going to vary. So each of you will have your own personal healing process to go through in the medical set, or clinically speaking, you'll have your own routine to follow. So always check with your medical provider. So that's going to be your job as well, to make sure you're going through and prioritizing that. And then we have the bond. So your job right now is to rest, heal, bond, and fall in love with your baby, feed your baby, and do your little short walks. So during your puerperium, those are ultimately your top priorities. Everything else, we can try to make it wait. Obviously, if you don't have a person that's going to be cooking for you or preparing your meals, that's something we need to kind of work around. And we need to, it's fundamental. You're going to need to have your hands on at some point. But really keeping your awareness to where your attention should be, that already makes a big difference in postpartum. Just your mindset being aligned with your priorities, that already makes a huge difference. And for those of you that have a support system, rely on that. Feel free to ask for help. This is the time to really open yourselves to receiving help, okay? So be resting, Be healing, be bonding and falling in love with your baby, be feeding your baby in a comfortable way, find comfortable positions to do that, and avoid the excessive amount of I don't know, those stressful moments, things that can stress you. Try to foresee and just let go for this period. It's a short period, it's going to run by, but it's very, very important. So if we're really treating our first 42 days with more awareness, we're going to be accomplishing more gradual, um, successful recovery. Okay. So those are your jobs. And within that, I'll give you a few tips on how to go about your recovery process. So, practical tips on how we're going to do that. Stay warm. Like, that's one of my, I wouldn't say the biggest tip, but it has such an impact on our recovery process emotionally and internal healing. Like, your womb starts healing from consuming warm food, warm meals. So make sure that what you're eating is warm, and that you're constantly feeling warm. So the extreme parts of your body, they need to be warm. Your feet, your hands, your nose, your ears, they're talking. So don't ignore the signals in your body. It's gonna tell you where you need to be warm, and make sure you're constantly warm. Like, if your body has that sense of warmness, of heated, it's really going to give you a lot of emotional comfort. That's definitely going to help with the healing process. And the things that you're consuming, the food that you're consuming will also, I will get a little bit into that in the coming slides, but just make sure that you're constantly warm. That's like a big tip that I can give. Um, it's very important that you're avoiding disturbing topics and conversations, um, that you're avoiding all of the negative comments about postpartum and baby blues. And it's important that you're informed about it, but it's very, very important that you're not connected to this topic. There's a difference. So you need to be really disconnected from these topics that kind of make you project those things in yourself. So keep yourself safe, allow yourself and give yourself permission to step out of these conversations, to step out of these topics, um, regardless of who it's being interacted with. If you need to step out just mentally, do it. However, you're going to work out on how to step out of these comments and conversations. Work it out on your own way and how you're more comfortable. Sometimes you're just going to literally step out, or sometimes you're just going to have to do it mentally. But make sure that these topics are not connected with you during your puerperium, because it's a time in your life where we're very suggestible to comments. We become very suggestible to things. So it's the time to really protect and be safe in our thoughts and in our minds. Okay. Make sure you're cozy. I've mentioned about that. Pillows, socks, all the comfort measures, and make sure that you're creating rest areas all over your house and you're resting for 42 days. So other than be resting, you do need to have that walking period to slowly get your muscles back into place, to eliminate any gases or anything that came from your birthing process. So aside from the time that you are going to designate yourself, or your care provider will tell you how many times a day you should be kind of walking a little bit around, you're going to be resting. So you're going to be either doing that periodically walk, but just a slow walk, a walk that's just giving you a sense of well-being. So you're not really exercising in this period. You're not going around in a rush to do anything anywhere other than those postpartum visits that you have to pay to your care provider or to your for your baby. So other than the natural obligation, we're just giving ourselves little short walks around our house, or the farthest we should go is to our garden other than our obligations. So no real like visits happening to like social visits or anything like that. This is the time that we're gonna really put ourselves in our safe space, emotionally, physically, and even health wise. It's the recommendation. And nowadays we're also experiencing pandemic, so safety above all. Um, but other than that, the effects of staying safe during the 42 days, they're true, they're real. So we should really be in our safe space as much as possible, which is our home, and do our little walks periodically, just following whatever your care provider designated for you. And one last one, but it's not least, and definitely not least, try to prepare your environment for this, because we are visual beings as well. Like we're also the feeling of things, what we see, what we hear, how we're interacting with the environment around us. It's really going to affect us directly. So make sure that things you're touching are fluffy, they feel nice to you. Whatever you're seeing around your environment feels comfortable. Even decorate your space in a way that's going to make you feel cozy or comfortable. Invest in little lights. Those little lights, they give you that sense of well-being. If it's, especially if you're going through your puerperium during winter phase, it's really recommended that you put those little lights around your house, more like towards a yellowish, whitish tone. Those are tones that give you that sense of home, of well-being, and especially if we're lacking on sunlight, invest in those little lights all around your house. Maybe you're a candle person, so if you want to invest in candles, but whatever it is that will make your house feel cozy, decorated, and comfortable to you. It's not going to be like that all the time. Like I said, not to get in conflict with priorities, because then if you're over organizing your house, so you're going to have a sense of well-being, or if you're so worried about the well-being that the decoration is going to bring you, you're already in the loop of concern, which is not what we're looking for here. So just practical little tiny things that we can do and give us a sense of comfort will be great. It's not an extra task. It's not going to have that weight, but it's just something that's there just to give you that sense of lightness, and that sense of like just a weightless moment where you're in your safe area, and it just feels nice, and it just looks beautiful, and it feels comfortable to you. So far so good, ladies.
Yep.
Yes.
I think it's good. Thank you.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, so
Nice
far
to
so
hear
good.
your
Thank you.
voices. Okay, awesome. So still in the tips, like I said, keep yourself warm, skin to skin with your baby. That is like falling in love with your baby falling in love with you. You're having that bonding period. I have a lot of moments where I'm interacting with moms, and with my own personal experience, we feel like, okay, where is this bond gonna happen? I haven't bonded like people say. I haven't done it like movies are showing you, like that you immediately fall in love with your baby. Sometimes it doesn't happen. It takes a while. Your recovery process is there for that too. Your puerperium period, it was really designed for healing and falling in love with your baby. So this is the time where the bonding starts happening. Skin to skin makes that happen. Skin to skin creates a lot of love hormones that will circulate our bodies, like oxytocin, prolactin. It will enhance your breastfeeding journey. It will enhance the bonding process. And it's not only for mommies and babies, daddies and babies can do it too. So skin to skin, it's just creating that bonding, that warm environment for you, for your baby. And yeah, it's keeping you warm, it's keeping your baby warm. So invest in some periods of the day where you're having some skin to skin. You can do it while you're just burping your baby, and you can be around a warm blanket with your baby, or you can do it while breastfeeding. just find that moment of the day that you're going to be bonding, that you're going to be using skin to skin, enhancing and boosting all of the love hormones that are very positive and actually very much needed for that time of your bonding process. So invest in that for sure. Warm socks, warm environment, we've talked about that. So make sure you're investing in that. More recovery process tips. Keep yourself nourished. Make sure what you're consuming, like as far as meals go, that you're consuming warm meals, regardless whether you're in the warm weather when baby is born or not. The warm meals and the warm drinks, they're really going to enhance the internal, even internally. Because we have like um, some postpartum wounds that internally they're happening. We can't really see them, and consuming warm drinks and warm meals is a great way to enhance your recovery process. So make sure what you're consuming is warm, fatty, soupy meals, easy to digest. Remember that in your postpartum, and like I said, we can pull it even further into postpartum and puerperium. But it's really going to physically, if you're in your puerperium, it's going to optimize your recovery process. And if you're in your extended puerperium, like all the way into your postpartum, it's just emotionally going to give you that soothing process that you need to go through. Maybe you haven't gone through that in your puerperium, and you can apply this to your postpartum. Just give yourself that time to be consuming those kind of food and drinks and the warmth, even skin to skin, at that point, if it's going to give you that sense, that emotional sense of rebonding, reconnecting, and readjusting to your changes. Okay. You probably can hear my kids, but it's okay. We're all moms here, I guess. So the warm drinks, in the end of the course, I will give you guys a quick recipe on a lactation tea. That it's not only good for being the warm drink that you're consuming, but also it's really optimizing and enhancing your breast milk supply. Not only that it's going to increase your breast milk supply, but it avoids gassy milk or any property that your milk might be during production, that it might be creating like gas. This recipe will help eliminate those gassy babies, and it will help enhance the overall quality of your breast milk. So I'll send you guys that. If we don't have time, just drop me on the comments your email and I can email it to you as well. Okay, we'll see how the course goes. If we still have time, then we'll go over it together. Otherwise, I can email it to you. Increase your water intake. I know you guys hear this quite often, but it's not like we can't enhance this or highlight this enough, like the amount of water intake. And I even go one step further. Make sure that you have at least a few times a day some warm water. You can add different kinds of spices to your water or to your food, like ginger, and the most natural ones, they're going to actually have like a even more positive effect. But if you can add a little bit of ginger to your warm water, just those little sliced, thin sliced ginger, it's good. It's anti-inflammatory. It's very good for healing process. It's good for keeping you warm as well. So you can add that to your water, to your food. Cinnamon, cardamom, black pepper, cumin. There are a lot of if you're consuming the quality spices, those ones are really going to make for an excellent healing booster as well. Okay, and whole grains in the moderate amount, obviously, but they're really helping you recover, and they're giving you the energy. Like the grains will give you the energy and the sense of fulfillment that you need, like internally, so that you're not constantly hungry Although when we're breastfeeding, we actually are. But if we're consuming whole grains, we're still going to keep ourselves with a better sense of fulfillment for that period that we're really like not, because when we're too hungry, we tend to consume like those easy to eat kind of food. And most of the times they're not the most healthy ones. So invest in whole grains that they're going to keep you feeling nourished and making sure that you're still intaking the amount of food that you need to during that period as well. Probiotic rich food. I can't stress this enough either. This is a good time to be consuming kefir, yogurt, tempeh, really enhancing your the probiotics running in your body, because we might be our immune system might go down a little bit. So this is the time to increase probiotics and making sure like we're really investing the immune system during our puerperium. Okay. All right. We're still into the recovery tips. There are loads. But moving further with just small things that make big differences, invest in massage or oil therapy. You can do it yourself. It can be part of your self-care, even if it's going to last for 2-3 minutes max. When you're doing this, like even when you're just preparing yourself to take a little nap, a quick oil massage, like while you're doing it, that's really going to help articulation, avoid swollenness. Just that little movement that you're doing on yourself, it just increases that sense of well-being as well. So, and especially if you have a support person there for you, even better, have that person massage you, cover you in oil, and making you feel, and it's a moment of like really like more intense hydration. So we're definitely going to be investing on that. Making like, oh, I'd personally recommend, like from my recovery, the oils that I used, the worm oils like almond, ginger oil, lemongrass, sesame oil. Those are oils that like it just gives that sense of well-being, and it penetrates like quicker through our bodies, and it's just like a really good idea to be consuming that in your puerperium as well. Belly binding, if you're using oils before, and if you're if you're doing belly binding, we have a whole class on that as well. But just quick run through, belly binding can really be very, very helpful with you getting your muscles back into place, and emotionally as well. Like belly binding gives you that sense of emotional comfort postpartum and during your puerperium. I actually did belly binding 6 months after my daughter was born, and it still had a lot of effect on that emotional aspect, just because there is a lot of space when we give birth, and that big space, it takes a while until all of our organs are back into it, and just that empty space inside it emotionally gives us also some reflexes, like not only internally that we're empty, but also emotionally it gives that sense of emptiness. And belly binding has like proven to kind of help you cope with the space, and just giving you more emotional well-being and physical as well. So if you're a belly binding person, also do that oil massage, just gentle massage, not really anything deep, just that nice gentle rub, and then bind yourself during that massage or after the massage. But definitely invest in the touch, which will help boost a little bit of your positive emotional effects, and also just help circulation to get going, avoid swollenness, especially on your feet area, shoulder and neck area, where is you're mostly tense because of the posture of breastfeeding, or just because we kind of lack some posture as well, like after giving birth. And it definitely will give you just that sense of comfort, and those the stiff nerves and the stiff muscles that we have around this area, just it's nice to have a little massage happening there, and getting rid of some of that. So we're getting into the next part of the course. I hope I didn't go by too fast and that you guys managed to sink in some information about postpartum and puerperium healing, because it's a very, very huge process for you and your baby. And your healing process will reflect directly in your entire household. So it shouldn't be taken lightly. It's like really injecting health into you, into your family, if you're having a good postpartum or puerperium healing process. So I hope that went by in a way where we're able to absorb some of the information. And we're getting into the newborn care, which is normally what mommies are mostly anxious to hear about. Are you guys okay? Thumbs up if you're okay.
Yep, all good. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, all good. All good from my end as well. So, newborn care. Do's and don'ts. So, I'm just going to do like a quick runaround, and then I want to see you guys because you're not on my screen right now. Okay, there you are. If you're on camera, that's fine. Otherwise, if you just want to do the thumbs up, I think Zoom has that option as well that you can click on it. We're just going to play like a quick game. And I want to know if you think it's a do or a don't. So if it's a do, just give me a thumbs up. If it's a don't, give me a thumbs down. And then we'll see what are the current guidelines for these practices. Okay? So is it a do or a don't that you always put your baby to sleep on his or her back? What do you think?
I think it's do.
Okay. All right. So yeah, it's a do. The current guidelines has it that way, although we still have providers that will put babies to sleep on their sides, which is also okay. But ultimately, the World Health Organization has it that putting the baby to sleep on their back is still the healthiest and the most risk-free position for your baby to sleep in, okay? Never on the tummy though. At this point, no. Okay. It's okay to shake your baby to sleep. Do or don't? What do you guys think?
Don't.
You're right. We shouldn't. There is a syndrome from baby shaking syndrome. It's still a lot that's being neurologically just being formed still after baby's born. So we really should avoid any shaking motions. The most we're gonna do is just sway slowly and gently our babies to sleep. Sometimes, like naturally, we get the urge to kind of be shaking them around, but we really should tone that down and making sure that we're just swaying our babies, or if they're crying and we want to soothe them, we're focusing mostly on swaying movements or rocking movements rather than shaking. Not recommended. Okay. Ensure baby's dressed appropriately by checking baby's temperature. What do you guys think?
How do you check baby's temperature? You mean with the thermometer or just like touching?
I'd say like thermometer or...
Well, it would be too much, I guess. I don't know. To check temperature every time you dress the baby. But I mean, just to use some common sense, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. The thing is, this actually hits home to me because I'm from Brazil and we're living in the Czech Republic, and I never really, and even in Brazil, come on, I'm from a warm side in Brazil, and my both of my kids were born in the part where things are very cold during their birth time as well. And I was always overdressing my kids, and I never really knew what was the common sense to dress them. So I thought I'd put it in here because maybe there were other mommies like me. And no, you don't really have to be checking baby's temperature or even like physically checking their temperature. It's quite um straightforward. Like they're just gonna be wearing one or two extra layers than what we are. Like one extra layer to be inside and two extra layers to be outside. That's the way to kind of measure how they should be dressed, and how making sure that you're not overdressing the baby or underdressing the baby. And it's quite common that we're overdressing the baby, and that's definitely something we need to keep an eye for, because we don't want to overheat newborn babies. So they really definitely shouldn't be dressing up. So just making sure they're wearing one extra layer inside indoors, two extra layers outdoors than what we are. So we take ourselves as reference. And then we have the restrictions. Should we be cuddling and soothing our babies without restrictions? Should we do that? Yes or no? Yes, Eunice. I agree with you. Just current guidelines has it, even health-wise, that this is going to help babies, even the brain development. So do it as you will without restrictions. Let's cuddle, let's hold, let's kiss and soothe our babies. We tend to hear that that's going to give them bad habits. They're going to get used to it. But current guidelines, even health guidelines, has it that you're actually enhancing your baby's development. So no restrictions to soothing and cuddling your babies. So add pillows and blankets to baby's sleeping area for extra comfort. I mistakenly already put the X there. Baby sleeping area should be free of any items other than just their sleeping area. That's going to avoid, I'm going to move this out of the way because I guess it's not allowing you guys to see properly. That's going to avoid that baby, anything gets in the baby's respiratory area and blocks breathing or inhaling anything that's around them, basically. So anything that should be in the baby's area is just their mattress. Baby shouldn't be sleeping on pillows at this point, really just to avoid suffocation, okay? Again, I did it again. I'm ruining the game. Stay silent as your baby naps. No, we shouldn't be 100% silent while baby's napping. Sleeping, yes, we create a whole system for sleeping and making sure that they're distinguishing daytime from nighttime, and everything should be quiet during nighttime. It's sleep time. And then there's like their biological clock will start understanding day from night. But that's exactly why during naps we shouldn't do it, because nap time during the daytime is where we're going to help them understand this is daytime. So life is going about naturally. The natural environment noise is going to happen. Like we tend to be over worried, like, oh my God, if they ring the intercom, it's going to wake up the baby. Or if my other kids are walking around, it's going to wake up the baby during their daily nap time. And it will probably, but it's also helping. And that's the part that we don't like, makes us a little bit anxious, but it's the part that's teaching them day from night. Like obviously we're not going to allow any disrespectful noise happening around their sleeping area, like our other children screaming or yelling in the baby's room or where the baby's sleeping. But we're also not going to block the natural environment from happening because baby's taking a nap. That's just creating a regular routine for family, baby, and learning how to cope with each other comes with the natural environment taking place. Like it's running its course, regardless of the baby taking a nap or not. So we need to be attend to that we're not kind of blocking all of the noises, because we might be also blocking baby's ability to recognize day from night. Okay, allow daylight to come inside the house as well. Like, we want to make it cozy for them, and we want to get everything like super dark so that they're feeling more comfortable to sleep. But then we're blocking daylight, and it becomes a little confusing for their biological clock. Okay, so these are the newborns basics. This is what we went through about the brain development. I'm just going to go over it very quickly. If any of you feel like you want to have access to these slides, just drop me in the comments, drop your emails, I'm not sure how often you use WhatsApp or whatever you feel like you want to be communicating with me through, and I can definitely send you guys the slides, okay? But basically, the brain development starts with interaction with babies, interaction in their family, in their households. So they respond to cuddle, to the relaxed time, play, talk time. This is all enhancing babies' brain development. So we're always trying to create these 5 simple things that you can do daily to enhance babies' brain development. And regardless of whether they were born yesterday or 2 weeks ago or a month ago, they will respond to cuddle, to the relaxed time. And you can use relaxed time, like you can use some soothing music on the background, relaxation music, whatever you're trying to communicate relaxation to them with. Even a shower, or I'm not sure how safe you feel. This is really up to mommy and baby and mommy's partners to decide. But we showered with our kids since, I don't know, day 7 or 10. Not really showering, adding any lotion or any cosmetic to them, just the water. In that moment, that water therapy really does wonders for us, the baby. And it was actually my skin to skin with all of my kids. I had a lot of skin to skin when I was showering with them. I just put a chair inside the showering area and just sit there. I'd put like one muslin square so that baby's not very slippery, and that made us feel safe, and it was okay. And I'd slowly remove a little bit, do skin to skin, or sometimes place the muslin square only on the bottom part of their bodies, just so that they're not very slippery. But mostly that was our relaxation time. You can pick how you're going to do your relaxation, but playing with them, just talking, those things. And when you respond to their cues as well, sometimes they're like making little noises, respond to that. That's really creating fundamentals for a very healthy brain development. Okay. About safety, we did go over a little bit of that, and I'm afraid we won't be able to get into much details on this. But in our coming classes, we can clarify any of your questions and get into more details. But about the safety, we current guidelines have it, and I have the source for that. This is a UK organization. Is the UK safety organization, but it's also in the World Health Organization's guidelines too, that we're always placing the baby to sleep somewhere in the same room where you are. So for newborns, it's important that your baby's sleeping in the same room, at least for that time being. It depends on your family's dynamics and what works for you, whether you're going to move the baby to a nursing room or to a separate room, or whether you're doing co-sleeping. That just comes down to family's preferences and however it's going to work for your own family. But in the first newborn phase, it's recommended that you have the baby sleeping in your same room, so you can attend to the baby when you need to, or just that they can smell you, so they're within a small distance where they can smell the mom and feel that sense of comfort. It just creates a better scenario and a safer scenario for the family. There are like the no smoking and that whole, which should be kind of obvious to us, but it's still part of the safety procedure. So I left it there. not sharing your bed with your baby if you've been consuming any kind of chemicals like that will get you a little bit off, like alcohol, or never sleeping with your baby on an armchair. Make sure that's not happening because you can kind of move around, and we're probably most of the time very exhausted in our postpartum period and in our puerperium especially. So it's a good thing that we're always making a safe space for us and the baby. So if we're going to be falling asleep, make sure you're not doing that on your armchair. And during the newborn care, because we sometimes we see it on our checkups. Sorry, my dog wants to come inside. So come in. I just let my dog in. So during the puerperium, we see maybe in babies' checkups with their pediatricians, they'll put like the baby on their feet to do these standard examinations, but it's definitely something we shouldn't be doing at home. So let's not at this point during this period of newborn place baby on the feet position, or like standing or feet to foot. That's not a good position for this period of newborn. So just bear that in mind. Other than that, the things that we should be looking out for during the daily routine, when we're talking about the stools, baby's poo, we sometimes get a little bit afraid that baby will have like a very dark poo in the first days, but that's just the meconium, so that's nothing to really worry about. In the first few days, it might still be very dark and black and sticky. So that's the meconium. That's nothing to worry about. So you should be checking in the next few days that the color will change probably to a yellowish, and it can even be a little bit greenish in the first week or so. So that's nothing to be like overly frightened about. About washing your newborns. So the latest guideline has it that the minimal bathing in early weeks and no soaps or products should be used. So you're still using the benefits of the vernix that covers the baby skin. So during the few first washes, current guidelines just have it that minimal bathing is what's best, okay? And we're avoiding cosmetics at this point. Nappy changing. So this is something for me, although we're women, I just had my daughter. I had two boys before, and I felt a little bit like worried when changing her, and I have the information, but still, like when it's our baby, we're still worried because we're moms. That's what we do, right? We worry. And when I was cleaning her, I was noticing because the boys, their organs aren't like open. So I was thinking when it's poop, it's going inside, and you're like, oh my God, it's all inside. It's normal, but we just need to make sure that we're cleaning it from the frontwards to the backwards, and we're good to go. But the most thing, like the most recommended, is to kind of wash it up. So we're using just a quick water. It can be on the sink, just to try to get it a little bit warm. Just running water, clear running water, to avoid infection. And just that should do. And you can use even a little cotton ball, like a clean cotton ball, to tap it dry, and it should be good. If you're choosing to use any method of cleaning or wipes, or make sure it's just scent free, and it's for babies, for newborns, and that should also do the trick for you. And with boys, we need to avoid pulling back the foreskin. We hear that very often, especially in my country. Moms are always teaching new moms how to mom, which is something that we miss. I think in different cultures, we might not have that still, that moms are teaching moms, but they still have a little bit of the old ways when they're teaching. So sometimes they will teach us to pull back the foreskin. We shouldn't be doing that. That can be like a hurtful process for the baby boy, okay? So we're just clearing the tip mostly washing is the safest and the cleanest. If you're just gonna be using wipes, you're patting it clean, patting it dry, and we're good to go. And the cord care. I get questions on my postpartum visits as well. Like this is always a big question here, how to care for the cord. Each provider, each pediatrician is going to have their own way that they're going to be instructing you how to do it. But overall, and the safety guidelines here is really make sure you're not rubbing or vigorously cleaning the actual part where the cord is connected to. We're cleaning the around area, making sure it's airing as much as possible, making sure it's always dry. The products that are going to be used or the absence of these products, each healthcare provider will give you their own say in this. But overall, the most important thing is making sure we're not rubbing against the actual cord, not pulling on it, or doing any vigorous movement around that area. Just really, just around needs to be clean, and making sure very gently the top part of the cord is always kept very dry and air as much as possible that area. Okay, here's the recipe. So turns out we still had time for the lactation recipe. If you guys want to have a minute or two to write it down, I will give you guys this minute. And then we're going to go into the Q&As. But I'll give you more details while you're having a look at this tea, just so you can understand the actual benefits of consuming the tea, how it should be consumed, and why. This is an Ayurvedic lactation tea. It's actually used in many other sectors. It's not only Ayurveda that has fennel and fenugreek as being beneficial to lactation moms. It's quite general, actually. Fenugreek especially, it's a seed known for lactation. So the benefits here are the ones that I mentioned earlier. It avoids, it removes all the gassy properties that might be stored in our milk, depending on what kind of food we're consuming. And it really enhances the quality of the milk that we're producing. So it will also help you increase your supplies in case you need to. And sometimes if you're oversupplying it, don't be afraid of consuming the tea, because it's not going to overdo it. Like your body is very wise, and it starts noticing when to tone down, like when baby is nursing. It kind of gives all of the signals to what kind of milk you should be producing and the amount. I was always an overproducer, so I had to go through a few phases on how to adjust my production. But also, which is not very common, and sometimes I hear people say, "Wow, that's a very good problem to have, like you're overproducing." But actually, there is no problem that is good to have. No problems are good. So it gives mastitis, and there's a lot of suffering going around overproduction as well. And the lactation tea, it will just really help tone your supply as well. Like it just gives the amount of property that your body needs to be producing, the exact amount and the quality amount as well. So don't be afraid to consume the tea if you're an overproducer, and if you are low on supply, it will certainly boost. So it's not that it's just doing the production for you, but it's enhancing what your body needs for what your baby needs. Okay, I hope that was like clear and that I didn't confuse you with what I was saying. But overall, it's a very good tea to be consuming during your postpartum puerperium period. You can do it all through postpartum, like even a year after. It's still very, very much beneficial. Uh, and what it does, other than improving the quality of your milk, it really gives you also a sense of hydration, because depending on the tea you're consuming, it will dehydrate. So we need to look out for what kind of tea we're consuming during our postpartum period, because we're under the impression, because it's a liquid, it will hydrate our bodies, but some teas will actually dehydrate. So this is really, really good for postpartum and puerperium because of the high level of hydration that you can get from these seeds. Okay. You should be.
Lorena,
Yeah, sure.
Lorena, may I ask you, is it okay to spice it up with some maybe like cinnamon, cardamom, some citrus, whatever, or it's not?
Certainly.
It's not really.
Certainly, it will even boost if you're using warm. If you're using warm spices, it will certainly boost the tea, the actual benefit that the tea has to come forward. So it's definitely okay to boost it up. It's a very mild tea. If you taste it, it doesn't really have a very strong taste. So for people that struggle with more incorporated tastes, this is a very good tea because it's very mild. Like it's a very nice, soothing, nothing very extravagant about the taste. So if you struggle with that, you can keep it simple. But if you're a spice person, certainly you can add ginger, cinnamon. You can certainly spice it up a little bit more and even boost the benefit if it's like a warm kind of spice that you're using. So certainly go for it. We might want to avoid peppermint or any other like cold leaves, but we're the warm spices. Yeah, that's a plus. Go for it.
What about lemon and honey?
Certainly, certainly. Lemon is highly healing. It has a lot of properties, antioxidants as well. Honey, it's an excellent healer. It's an excellent soother. So definitely go for it. That won't remove any of the benefits from the actual seeds. So that's also a plus, certainly.
I just wanted to add this, as far as I know, and Lorena, you can correct me.
Mhm.
The only thing about honey, it shouldn't be mixed with the hot water. I think it should be like warm or like have it on the side, because when
Certainly.
you're like mixing it with the really hot boiling water, it's I don't know, somehow becomes opposite, like not healthy, but like
Yes.
unhealthy.
Thank you so much. Yes, Anna, that's certainly a good reminder. Sure. You shouldn't be boiling honey at all. And also when you're adding the honey, it shouldn't be to the pan. So it's already when the mix is in your cup, and then you can add, and it's actually really enhancing. Honey is highly, highly healing. So I still recommend you use honey during your puerperium. Just avoid overdoing it because of your digestive system. It might well, we want it to help digestion, but not overdo it. But yes, certainly we shouldn't be boiling honey or adding it to the pan. So definitely add it to your cup, and just moderate amount as well. Thanks, Anna, for the reminder. All right. So do you guys feel like you managed to have the recipe there for you? Is it okay if we move on with the slide, or do you want some more time, or do you want to ask anything about the tea? One thing that I didn't mention, it's actually important that I mention it, is that actually it's in the slide I just saw. But it seems like a lot that you're consuming 8 cups a day. So we can start very gradually. But if you aim at least 4 cups a day, you're still using a lot of the benefits that comes with the seeds. And the recipe that I have here, it will last you for 6 weeks because you only need 1 teaspoon of this mix. And it should be enough for a liter and a half or something, a liter and 3 mLs of water. So it should be more than enough. It should last for your 6 week supply. So for at least the 42 days after delivery, you'll with this recipe you'll have supply for that. But then, like myself, I'm actually still consuming this tea, and my baby's 1 and 2 months yesterday, 2 months. So she's a year and 2 months old, and I'm still consuming it. So there is no limit to how long you want to consume it. It's just very important that we're trying to do it on a daily basis during the 42 days. It's quite tricky, and it might not be always possible that we we have the mix, but I highly recommend, like, if you can keep it in a thermostat around your house and you're sipping on it all day long, you can still use a lot of the benefits that these seeds will provide to your production and to your actual well-being as well. Okay, are we good to move forward? Can you guys give me like a thumbs up if that's the case?
Yeah, look like we have, everyone is okay.
Yeah, okay. All right. So this is a quick thing that I found very interesting about postpartum. And it's by Naomi Kemeny. She wrote something about how it's very new to all of us that we're not experiencing support system. I'm just trying to move it out of the way, but I still want to look at you guys, although I don't see any cameras here, but I like looking at your names, at least knowing you're there. This is something, just some food for thought, so that we can try to create the space around us and try to reconnect with the wisdom of having family and support system again in our life. She says here, and I'm just going to read it quickly to you and just leave you with the idea of how we can try to reconnect with that. So never in history were a mother and father expected to care for their baby all by themselves. The idea of a nuclear family, one mother and one father to do it all, is one of mankind's most recent and riskiest experiments, attempted only over the last 2 or 3 generations. In an ideal situation, the extended family would be able to provide continuous support at this early stage of parenting. The modern family is all too often nuclear and separate from the local community network, unlike many traditional communities worldwide where they live more in line with the old African proverb, it takes a village to raise a child. I've just put this little part here, just not only as a reminder, but that we start understanding the importance of support during this period. And this is exactly what we're trying to bring to you, although it's going to be maybe a long distance, maybe online. We can always think of moving these classes to in person as well. But what ultimately what this is trying to do is just connect us to our sense of community again, and understand that this is a moment where we're definitely going to need support and just really seek support when we need to. Sometimes we might not be able to have our extended family around, but if we're going to even hire this service, we're making sure that we're really getting support during the crucial part of postpartum, which is the puerperium, and as much as you need to as well. So this was the end of the presentation. I want to go back into your for a quick Q&A. Anna, do you think we can extend the meeting for maybe 5 more minutes? See if we have any questions that we can address.
Yeah, no problem, no problem.
And if anyone needs to go within 6 minutes, that's fine. It was our proposal to have the class happening for this period. But if you want to stay for any Q&As, I'm available to you for the next 5 to 10 minutes if you need. So feel free to fire away any questions you may have. And we can start recording now, and I will try to get you guys and have a look at you if you want to be seen. Otherwise, feel free to have your cameras off as well, okay? I will stop sharing my screen. And